This is live. This Hangout on there is live. I'm live. All right, so let me share my desktop and continue on this little journey of me trying to learn how to read music via modeling music through F sharp. So with that said, there was a previous video where I went pretty scatterbrained, and I was talking about this journey that I wanted to start. And I'm probably going to be scatterbrained on this one too. All right. And specifically, it's me trying to ultimately build out an app that will enable an end user to construct a melody. I like the way I said that. All right. So with that said, or I could replace construct melody with compose music. All right. Maybe, yeah, that sounds better. Anyway, with that said, I had shared some of the code that I had that was mapped to this blog post or article, whatever you want to call it, musicnotes.com, eventually / how to read music sheet, or how to read sheet music. I'm kind of dyslexic. And so there's some things that, I'm sure there's a lot of things that I missed, but there's some specific items that I caught that I wanted to make some updates to. So with that said, we look at what I have right now, and we want to zero in on this note discriminated union type. Okay. Now, what's my OCD is getting the best of me. Now, what screams out something's not right when we look at this? All right, this note. We have whole, half, quarter, eighth, 16th, and they're of this glyph type, which is defined up here. However, I'll let you get another look, right? However, I'm looking at these definitions, and for example, a whole note doesn't have the stem, right? A stem is a vertical line that runs tangent to a circle, whether that circle is filled or open. But we see, so for example, a half note, and then there's a quarter note, right? Half note is open and it has a stem to it. A quarter note is closed and has a stem to it. I hope I'm saying this right. But then you have a whole note, which doesn't have a stem at all. But, I've been thinking about this heavily in the shower I just took. That's probably TMI, too much information. But after you finish with your visual, I had like this awe moment, and I'm like, yo, something's not right. Because this whole note right here, I didn't see anywhere within this music sheet post where it had a glyph attached to it. And when I say a glyph, I mean like a beam that's attached to it, or a flag, or a dot, or a tie, right? And so these are all various symbols that can be applied towards a note within a music sheet. So with that said, yeah, right here it talks about, dots and ties. So I'm like, all right, well, a whole note, I don't think has a glyph attached to it, but maybe it could. Oh, shoot, now I'm getting myself in trouble because a whole note, does it make sense for a whole note to have a flag? No, I don't think so. A beam? No, because a flag and a beam, they're about like cutting the value of a given note in half. And the more flags or the more beams you have, the more you cut it in half again. The duration of that note. Again, I'm trying to learn all this. So the first thought is, well, I've never seen in the example of this how to read sheet music a whole note having any type of glyph attached to it. So with that said, it may have a tie to it. This is so complicated. With that said, let's just assume that our whole note doesn't have anything to it. Well, I want to bet that, and of course, I have a phone call coming in. I'm willing to bet that a whole note could probably have this tie notes to hold between measures. And I mean, that's probably legal. But I don't know. So anyway, I'll get feedback on that if it makes sense for a whole note to have a tie to it. But let's talk about these other ones, right? A half note, a quarter note, eighth note, 16th note. They automatically have glyphs attached to them. But the thing is it's perfectly legal, I believe, for these notes to not have any type of glyph attached to it, meaning that it's perfectly legal. Come here, come here, come here. It's yeah. It's perfectly legal to do this right here, right? But it's also legal to have this right here. And so, what do you do? Do you add in another union case called none? So now a glyph, which is meant to be some type of symbol attached to a musical note, can be none. Well, if it's none, then that's not really a symbol like a dot or a tie or a flag or a bean. This sounds more like a hack. That doesn't seem right, right? So I'm like, all right, well, aha. So when I was like, in that shower and I'm like having the water just hit my chest, right? I'm like, you know what? Okay, well, how about this? Because a note can have a glyph, but it doesn't have to have a glyph. Well, gosh darn, Scott, you might as well attach an option to it, right? And so that's where we can use the option type. And then the problem's solved for the most part, you know? And so then when we have pattern matching, we can match on the discriminated unions attack or the discriminated unions case. Let me start over. The discriminated union cases attached data. We could pattern match on that, and we can match on some or none, and just go ahead and process that, right? Based on this option. This option is some or none that we apply towards this glyph. So we're going to either have some glyph or we're not going to have a glyph at all. And this option type enables you to leverage that type of conditional processing, all right? And what else? I hope I'm sharing my screen. Am I sharing my screen? Yeah, I'm sharing my screen. All right, so that is, I think, the solution to the problem that I had. And the only thing that's killing me right now is this whole note. I think it's legal for a whole note to have I, I think it's legal for this whole note to have at least a I don't even know what we call this. What do we call this? Do you call this a hold symbol? This arc between two notes that go across bars? Oh no, that's called a tie. All right, so I think it's legal to have a tie be applied to a whole. And I don't know, it may be, but a whole, in order for a flag or a beam to be applied to a whole, that whole must have a stem. And if the whole has a stem, then it could be easily confused with a different note. So I'm gonna leave this alone right now. But I think what we probably should have is these right here may need to be part of a different glyph type. So, for example, this glyph may be renamed to uh, occurrence. I can't spell that all. How do you spell occurrences? Is it two R's? Occurrences glyph, right? And then we may have to add a separate type glyph and do something like that, which we have a dot and a tie. And if we have that, then this may be legal over here of glyph, right? But these other types should also have the ability to use this. Oh, which which may be fine. So we have, maybe we rename this to apply all glyph. Oh, God darn it! Hold up. Apply all glyph, which sucks as a name, but that means that they don't discriminate. So maybe we could say non-discriminate glyph, right? Let's say non-discriminate glyph. I don't know. You pick your poison, okay? And so whole can be a non-discriminate glyph over here. That makes sense. But these other half, quarter, a 16th, they should also have the option to use a non-discriminate glyph or an occurrences glyph, which leads me to believe that there is this is killing me because I'm going to be spending all my time trying to figure out the right names to use, right? So your half, your quarter, your eighth, and your 16th, well, they need to use some type of glyph that I don't know a good name of that will encompass all of these, right? It's going to encompass, oh man, it's going to encompass, I don't like the way I'm doing this. It's not discriminate glyph as well as this occurrences glyph. But I don't like the way that looks. But if we did use that, then we would replace these down here with that. And call that common glyph, maybe. Okay. And then you would have to, within pattern matching, break it down even further. I don't really like this though. I wish I could incorporate all of these into its own. Like for example, I wish I could do something like this where I can say, yo, give me this, give me the occurrences glyph, and also give me the non-discriminate glyph. Like this is what I wish I could do. Go back and something like that. And that's what I wish I could do. This occurrences doesn't occur anymore. Actually, I might. I guess this is probably the best I could do. There's some duplication right here, which I'm not sure if, yeah, I don't know, man. That might be worth it. This might be okay. Our non-discriminant glyph for the whole note is right here, but it's still readable for the common glyph over here. And oh no, no, I don't feel like that's right. I feel like I shouldn't duplicate notes that have the exact same meaning. So anyway, I'm going scatterbrain, and I could say, I guess at the end I could say this: non-discriminant glyph of non-discriminant glyph. That doesn't make sense to me either. Uh, so I don't know. I'm thinking out. Stop. I'm thinking out loud. This may just have to be all right. So I'm recording myself. Is there any other thing I can do? All right. It's all about this one exception of whole that doesn't share all the other glyphs that all these other types share. But whole is still a valid note. Is there any other thing I can consider? And let me check. No, I don't even have my YouTube playing. Is there any other thing I could consider that won't result in duplication and is still readable? And I don't think so. Mm, yeah, I guess I'm just gonna have to leave it like this. Oh yeah, and it has to be an option as well. And I guess that's it. I don't like this at all because it's not as readable even more. Like, yeah, I don't like this at all because all this is like really hacked. For me as a programmer, it's like it's no longer about the domain of the music, and it's all about me trying to hack something to work, which isn't right when you think about like domain design. So that said, because I want to use ubiquitous language within the type system or within my domain model types, then I believe that I should maintain the language like that. And in regards to this non-discriminate glyph, well, that's still, I guess that's still fine. We need to change the name though. We'll say whole note uh, glyphs, whole note glyph. So that's better. That sounds a little bit better. And if we say whole note glyph, then we'll call this all note glyphs. All notes, all notes glyph, all note glyph. I don't know, whatever. Something along those lines. Okay. My OCD is taking over. So I have to make sure that these align, right? It makes my brain happy. And I still don't like that. I'll say glyphs. Ah, shoot. No, I didn't want to do that either. Say, hold up. Control Z, Control Z. All right, we're back in business. I can say glyphs for whole note. It's pretty wordy. And change that to glyphs for all notes. Okay. Yeah. All right. Put that back. And that I'm kind of happy with this. I mean, it's pretty wordy. Whole note option. Whole note option. All notes option. Yeah, I think this is okay. I think so. We have glyphs for a whole note, which can only be a dot or a tie. And I mean, it makes sense as I read it, and it still sounds okay in regards to the domain model of this being sheet music. It still reads as if it pertains to sheet music and not just me as a programmer. And glyphs for all notes, same thing. It still relates to sheet music. It still relates to that domain. As I feel better now. All right, so that's pretty much it. And then we use pattern matching to see if there's glyphs that are applied to a musical note, yay or nay, and then we just do the processing of that. Okay. So let me stop presenting. All right, so that's me attempting to take you into my brain, and I swear the majority of my time I'm making decisions on what to name things, and I go back and forth. It takes like an act of Congress to come up with good names, right? And there's certain things that I try to remind myself of, such as, is it just me? Or should other people that may be maintaining this could be an open source project, this could be a project that I sell to Google for billions of dollars, whatever. If that is the case, then there's going to be other maintainers, if that is the case. And if that is the case, and there is other maintainers, then they shouldn't have to think hard about my past experiences, and things that I understand. They should just be able to map to the domain of music. And when they see the names of these types, the names of these functions, well, this is all about the domain. It has nothing to do with me, right? So I guess that's the one of the challenges that I'm faced with is programming so that other potential future maintainers can focus on the domain and understand the domain versus trying to understand my thought processes, my individual self. And so I think that's a positive exercise I just shared with the whopping 1 or 2 viewers that are going to come across this YouTube video. And that is it. I am out. Adios, te veo a ratito. I'm Scott Nimrod. Peace, 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 peace.